Book Bites.
Welcome back to Bookish Bites.
Hi.
Hi, friends. Today we're talking about Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. And by the time you're watching this, the movie's out on Max. So you should probably be watching the movie too. We will be watching it
Tomorrow.
Thursday night. Yeah. When it comes out. I'm very, very excited. John Green's been so cute promoting it. Like, he made a video talking about how whenever books get adapted into movies, you can get paid two different kinds of ways. You can either get paid up front or you can get paid basically like on reception. So like depending on how well the movie does. So basically he was saying like back with The Fault in Our Stars was a huge movie. Huge. Like it did so insanely well that if he had chosen to get paid post-production, right, then he could have made millions more.
Right.
But he was like, I don't love that idea. I don't love that, like, it's just a chance of, like, reception to see how it is. So he was talking about how, like, I've already been paid for this movie, all that I'm going to get paid. So all the promoing I'm doing for it is just because I really like it. I really like this movie. And it's so cute, like, how excited he is. Like, Hank just tweeted, just, like, an hour ago or something. He changed, like, all of his Twitter bio, header, name, and photo to only turtles. And then he tweeted and he was like, did I forget that Twitter has a new feature where you can't change things back for like over a week? Maybe. Do I care? No. Go turtles.
I love it.
And I just love them both so much. And I'm so excited. It's like, I know I'm going to struggle, especially because we just read it, with like, if this movie is not a play-by-play. But I know it's not going to be a play-by-play. I know that's not how things work. So I'm trying to just remind myself, like, this is a book based on a novel. Like,
and the writer...
Like, they took the idea of the novel.
And the writer loves the movie.
He loves
it. So that's all I can really ask for.
And he's very involved in the production process, so...
Yeah. So that helps.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be great either way. This book, this is the second time I read it. I read it back when it came out. I can't remember what year it came out. But I read it then. And then I just read it again this week. And I'm so thoroughly obsessed with John Green's books and the way he writes. Like, I don't even know. Like, he makes everything seem so important. It makes everything, like, even, like, the crazy thoughts in your head seem normal. And it's like, yeah, like, that's just what people's brains do sometimes. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So we're fine. Everything's fine. We're good.
Right.
I just, I highlighted so much.
The way John Green expresses anxiety.
Oh my God.
And, like, I don't think it, like, officially says, like, OCD.
Right, but he
hints at it for sure. And, I mean, there was, like, a questionnaire or whatever at the end of the book where it's, like, a reporter's asking him questions like he's answering.
Oh, yeah.
And it was talking about, like, how did you write, like, OCD and anxiety, and, like, was it difficult? And he was like, yeah, it was pretty hard, but also, like, I'm so sorry, John Green, for the things that go on in your head, because only somebody who suffers through that would be able to explain it as well as you do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he's talked about, like, he struggles with, like, panic attacks and OCD, and it's not the same as Aza's, but he was able to, like, draw from the feelings, you know?
Yeah.
It's insane.
I unfortunately read this book back in, like, December, and I did not choose to reread it because it's still fairly fresh in my mind, but I told them they're going to have to help me with, like, the details of it, so.
Yeah.
I have
highlights, guys.
I'm so proud of you.
Highlights.
Let's see, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 highlights. So it's not a lot, but it is...
It's more than usual.
More than my usual.
I was going to count, but I have 20 in the first 5 chapters, so I stopped counting.
That's fair.
I don't know. Like, everything just seems important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I guarantee you I would have highlighted a lot had I read it on the Kindle. Yeah.
Like, I have a highlight on page 1. Page 1. She says, but I was beginning to learn that your life is a story told about you, not one that you tell. And then on page 2, she said, you think you're the painter, but you're the canvas. crazy.
Yep.
Page 5, she said, meanwhile, I was thinking that if half the cells inside of you are not you, doesn't that challenge the whole notion of me as a singular pronoun, let alone as the author of my fate? Insane.
Right.
Page 7, she says, the thing about a spiral is if you follow it inward, it never actually ends. It just keeps tightening infinitely. And then on page 9, she said, anybody can look at you. It's quite rare to find someone who sees the world the same as you see.
Yeah, I highlighted that one too.
So many bangers immediately.
Chapter 1! Banger after banger. Like,
Yeah.
what?
I'm just going to read mine because
Yeah.
there's not that many, but I did chapter 9. Or sorry, chapter 1, page 9.
Okay.
And then it's what you said. Anybody can look at you. It's quite rare to find someone who sees the same world you see.
Yeah.
And then I did chapter 3, page 22.
Yep.
True terror isn't being scared. It's not having a choice in the matter. Man.
Banger. Got that one too.
Page 25, and still in chapter 3, it says, I was so good at being a kid and so terrible at being whatever I was now. Yeah.
Oh!
That one hit hard,
So
too.
terrible at being whatever I was. Like, me too. What? Oh.
This one was kind of long. But
Where is it?
she's talking about, it's in chapter 5, and she's talking about, parts of typical romantic relationships that make her anxious. And then she included, like, kissing, having the wrong things, or saying the wrong things, having to say the right things to avoid hurting feelings. Don't know why I've tripped up so bad on that. Saying more wrong things while trying to apologize, being in a movie theater together and feeling obligated to hold hands even after your hands become sweaty and the sweat starts to mix together. And then 5 is what I actually highlighted. She said the part where they say, what are you thinking about? And they want you to be like, I'm thinking about you, darling, but you're actually thinking about how cows literally could not survive if it weren't for the bacteria in their guts, and how that sort of means that cows do not exist as independent life forms. But that's not really something that you can say out loud, so you're ultimately forced to choose between lying and seeming weird.
God, I love her so much.
I have one more after that, but that was like the longest one I had, but I just loved it because I was like, that's literally my brain.
Yeah.
That's literally my brain.
Yeah.
Like, so much respect. Like, that's how brains work.
Yeah.
God,
And then my last one was chapter 9, page 97. I said, and even though I laughed with them, it felt like I was watching the whole thing from somewhere else. Like I was watching a movie about my life instead of living it.
Oh
remember
my
that.
God. Yeah, that one went crazy.
Listen, they had to have really rocked my world if I highlighted them because I don't really make highlights very often.
Right.
But those really hit me because it's crazy because like I have bad anxiety and like to read somebody with these thought processes through her anxiety, it's just it's so crazy to see it like my brain and on paper.
Yeah. I highlighted in chapter 3 where she said, but the things that make other people nervous have never scared me. I'm not afraid of men in golf carts or horror movies or roller coasters. I didn't know precisely what I was afraid of, but it wasn't this.
Yeah.
Because Daisy's like, there's someone coming towards us. We
Yeah.
have to go.
Yeah.
And she's like, why? It's a man on a golf cart. Like, this isn't what I'm scared of.
Right. Well, even when they were in the cave and Daisy's like, I cannot see. It's so dark in here. This is terrifying.
And she's
then
like, but
she's
we
like,
have a
it's
flashlight. Like, this is
Right.
control. Like,
and she's like, no, it's not terrifying. And then she's like, literally, turn off your flashlight. And Daisy's like, what? Why would I do that?
and you can't figure out.
Yeah, because if it's pitch black, like, you're the one in control, and that's why she's not afraid of the rodents in there. And it's like,
Oh my God, she said a line when they first went into the cave before they got to the, like, art show area. She said, Daisy was like, oh my God, that was a rat. And Asa said, yeah, this is their home.
Yeah.
We're invading it.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, Asa.
yeah.
Asa absolutely comes through with the bangers. The way John Green's so capable of writing such complex characters, where, like, there were huge chunks of this book where I couldn't stand Asa. Asa was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And the majority of this book, I wanted to punch Daisy in the face.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to absolutely pummel her.
Yeah.
But, like, she was just being a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really, like, punish her for the way her behavior was. I think what bothered me is like, I don't know, there were just some parts where I'm like, you don't consider who your friend is as a person.
Right.
And like what's going to bother her. Granted, Asa doesn't really do that for Daisy either.
Right.
But like, whenever they first see Davis and Davis is like, I'm thinking I wish she wasn't here after the reward. And she's like, what do you mean? And Daisy comes up and she says, oh, the truth is, we were listening to the radio, heard a news report about your father, and then Holmesy here told me that she had a crush on you when you were kids. Why would you say that?
Literally, why?
Like, for what purpose?
Yeah.
Other than to absolutely humiliate your friend.
Right.
Obviously, it was fine because Davis was like, haha, retweet. But, like,
Right.
why would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, like, being her best friend, like, she knows what... She may not be in, like, Aza's mind, but she knows what she struggles with. So, like, at least, like, be a little careful about what you say.
That was, like, I didn't make many notes. I just highlighted a bunch of stuff. But my note on that one is just F off. I was like, Daisy...
Well, and, like...
I want to knock your ass.
Even as a friend, and they said that they had been friends for a very long time. Why would she write her into the fan fiction the way that she did?
Oh.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh.
That was...
Like, and then when she actually sat down and read the fan fiction, and she's like, oh my god, this is about me. Like, she's ripping this girl a new one, and it is literally me. Like, when she used the example of, she said, Rey and Chewbacca were, like, making out or whatever on the Millennium Falcon.
Yep.
And then, Ayala, something like that, walks in on them, and then, like, ruins the moment or whatever, embarrasses them, and then...
And you're like, oh, that literally just happened.
It literally just happened.
How dare you?
But also, okay, like, she just walked in to get you.
It's not her fault. Yeah.
That was one of the things that killed me, where she was like, excuse me, this isn't your house.
No, literally.
We're in someone else's house, and it's time to go.
Yeah.
I was coming to let you know, like, hey, this is my friend's house we're in, and I'm exiting. And you're like, can you go? We're making out in somebody's bed.
With a duffel bag full of $100,000.
And she's like, okay, I'll take the $100K and leave then. Bye, girly pop.
Bye. And then she gets mad at her when she doesn't tell her. She's like, why didn't you tell me when you got it?
That conversation the next morning, I think, was the first time where I was like, oh, Daisy can absolutely get it. I can't. I cannot. That whole conversation where she was like, hey, I need to talk to you. Like, call me. And she was like, okay, cool. And so she calls her, like, immediately, and then doesn't shut up about Michael. Now, I tried to be like, okay, remember being, like, 17, and you just started dating someone, and you're like, oh my god, I have to tell my friend every single detail. I can't leave a thing out. And I have to get it all out as soon as we start talking. But, like, Asa asked to speak to you. She didn't inquire about Michael, actually.
Yeah.
She didn't ask. We can get there eventually, but what if you, like, actually closed your mouth for 0.6 seconds?
Yeah.
I was pretty close to losing it. Pretty close.
Oh, we should talk about the sandwiches.
Oh my god. Hi. Welcome to Bookish Life. It's so nice to see you. We do a snack thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We're the bites.
Yeah.
The bites portion.
We made
Right, like that's like half of the brand. That's crazy.
peanut butter honey sandwiches because that is what Asa eats.
That let her have it.
Ironically, that's what I love peanut butter honey sandwiches.
Do you make them for Silas?
I do. And I add cinnamon to them.
Oh.
I'm fancy.
A little flair.
I like a little spice.
Dude, I haven't eaten a peanut butter honey sandwich in so long, but that used to be like my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I used to eat peanut butter marshmallow sandwiches all the time.
Oh my gosh, so that's what I would eat at my Grammy's because my mom was like, that is not a meal. You cannot have peanut butter marshmallow fluff sandwich. And I would go to my granny's. I would walk in the kitchen, open her cabinet. I'd grab peanut butter, the marshmallow fluff, and the graham crackers. And then I'd get a butter knife and sit down at the table and be like, yeah, I'm about to tear this up.
Yep.
That was my whole vibe.
I love that.
That's so good.
I felt really bad for Noah. Poor guy. He was really going through it.
Remind me which one.
He's
That's
the
the
younger
brother?
brother,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
I just wanted to hold him, and I felt, but like, oh my God, this whole book. Like, Davis is talking about, like, Noah's clearly devastated, but he's also 13, so he's just rebelling, and he's, like, not showering for weeks, and he's not taking care of himself, and he's bringing weed to school, and he's, like, trying to throw these parties with his friends, but then he's crying in my bed at night, and, like, I'm not his dad.
Yeah.
I'm not his father. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
Like, I can only, like, tell him as much as I can, but, like, his dad's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And Davis is also just a teenager.
An emancipated
Teenager.
Yeah.
Teenager. Like, the poor freaking kid.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad that, like, when Aza would go by Noah, like, she'd actually sit and talk to him. Like, she didn't, like, blow him off every time. Like, she always, like, tried to, like, make him feel better a little bit, be, like, reassure him. Because I know she knows that, like, Davis wasn't doing that. He was just kind of, like, brushing it off. He's like, he'll get over it. Or, like, I just think that it's better he doesn't know any of this. And it's hard because it is a lot for a 13-year-old, but also I think we give them too much credit for, like, not understanding, you know?
yeah.
Like if we actually let them in on things sometimes, like, they would understand way more than you think.
It's very similar to what we were talking about with the last book with, like, just talk to Bailey, right?
Right.
Like, just
Right.
give the kid a little bit of credit and just talk to them.
But I'm glad that, like, by the end, when deciding what to do with Dad,
made that choice together.
Yeah.
That was
I'm glad he actually, like, talked to him and, like, listen, like, whatever we decide, it's between us. Like, we decide together. And then Davis was like, well, that's what we felt was the best between both of us.
Huge.
And I was like, oh. It was nice that you're actually involving your brother in something, especially when it comes to your father.
Yeah.
Because even if you didn't have that relationship with your dad, you have no idea what kind of relationship Noah had with him.
And it's perception, too. Like, his relationship might have looked almost identical to Davis and his father's, but it's, like, the perception for Noah. Like, he's still only 13. You don't know what that, like, perception looks like for him. And how, like, kids still, like, idolize their parents to a point, you know? Like, you still have, like, those rose-colored lenses on, essentially, you know?
Right. Well, because even when they were talking about, like, what was it, the police report that she grabbed, and it had, like, their witness statements or whatever, and they were asking, like, what the dad was doing before he went upstairs
and
before he left. Davis was very cut dry and very like, okay, well, I barely saw him.
And had pizza. He went to bed.
Yeah, and then with Noah's, it was like, oh, he sat on the couch with me. He watched me play some of my game.
Put his hand on my shoulder.
I felt like it was weird because he kind of held it for a little while. It was a little stronger than normal. But then, like, he went to bed. Like, his was much more in depth.
It's
like,
that childlike perception of, like, oh, my dad's in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, John Green just tweeted, "Aw," like in response when he saw that Hank changed his name to like All Turtles and stuff. And he just tweeted, "Just burst into tears when I saw Hank Green's new Twitter profile. So that's about the vibe here in the last hours before Turtles All the Way Down is released into the world."
That's so precious.
Protect John Green at all costs.
Oh my God.
Much.
Protect the Green brothers at all costs.
At all costs.
I love
When do we circle back around and do an abundance of Catherines?
We just
talked about that.
I literally forgot. So An Abundance of Catherines was supposed to be the first episode. We filmed it and it was not good.
We filmed it back in December?
Yeah, it was before our trip.
We scrapped it. However, we still haven't talked about it. Like, we still read it. It's still a little in there.
Yeah.
So we need to do that at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
And of
I
course
love
it's
that book.
John Green and
always relevant.
yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I love him so much. I was looking whenever she first found his blog from like before he quit and like started the second blog.
Yeah.
His one of the first entries she reads he says, "Last night I lay on the frozen ground, staring up at a clear sky, only somewhat ruined by light pollution and the fog produced by my own breath. No telescope or anything, just me and the wide open sky. And I kept thinking about how sky is a singular noun as if it's one thing, but the sky isn't one thing, the sky is everything. And last night it was enough." And I just want to hold that 17-year-old baby.
Little poet.
Because like he even said, he was like, even before my dad was gone, I wished he was here.
Right.
You know, like, I'm feeling the same way I did when he was in the room.
Right.
And I just want to protect him.
Yeah.
And then, So the second one, he says, at the end, when walking was work, we sat on a bench looking down at the river, which was running low, and she told me that beauty was mostly a matter of attention. The river is beautiful because you are looking at it, she said. And I'm assuming he was referring to, like, his previous girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Because remember, she was, like, stalking his Instagram and saw that he had, like, had a girlfriend and they broke up and, like, all that stuff. And so I was trying to, like, put together the timeline. Mm-hmm. And then the first time that she realized, like, oh, maybe our brains work the same. Because he quoted William James, who said, the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. And he said, I don't know what superpower William James enjoyed, but I can no more choose my thoughts than choose my name. And I was like, I feel like that was the first moment that Asa was like, oh my gosh, like, you're talking about thoughts the way that I think mm-hmm. about thoughts. Mm-hmm. And, like, your brain is doing what my brain does. And I remember the camaraderie of, like, finding out whenever you're, like, a high schooler that someone else thinks the way you do. And, like, the way that we feel so alone in our own brains. And we're like, mm-hmm. no one can possibly get what I'm saying. And then someone says something. And you're like, oh, my God. Mm-hmm. Like, you're doing what I do? Mm-hmm. And I know it's been, like, a huge thing on TikTok recently where it's like, I've never had a unique thought. I've never had a unique experience. But how incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I feel like we say that as, like, a joke, but that is my favorite thing in the whole world. Yeah. I'm like, oh, my God, nothing I've done has been unique. Mm-hmm. I am not unlike any other given person.
Right.
All my weird crap has been other people's weird mm-hmm. crap.
It's honestly so comforting knowing that, gosh. Like, you're not crazy. And, like, other people have weird, whacked out thoughts.
Yes. Too. It's the best feeling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I was just like, I know that in this moment, Asa was like, mm-hmm. your brain, my brain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our brains.
Well, it's like when she was talking to Dr. Singh, and there was that one part where she was explaining her thoughts to her, and she had said something, and then Dr. Singh was like, like, that's uncommon. Like,
oh, it was like the first time she didn't say, like, oh, that's not uncommon.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then she was like, oh, like, I have something that, like, isn't like everybody else, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Like, you don't have something to draw from with that.
Right. Mm-hmm. I have this, like, part here, page, wait, where am I at? I'm on page 186. But it's just, like, from his new website, new blog.
I was obsessed with everything.
And it was just talking about, he put in here, it was just a quote, it says, I'm in love with the world, Maurice Sendak. Uh-huh. But his little blog entry says, we always say that we are beneath the stars. We aren't, of course. There is no up or down in any way the stars surround us. But we say we are beneath them, which is nice. So often English glorifies the human. We are whos. Other animals are that's. But English puts us beneath the stars at least. And I was like, especially him putting this quote in here, like, you see how he uses this blog to, like, find love in the world.
Yeah.
Like, mm-hmm. and he uses the stars and, like, astronomy to just, like, find things that he truly enjoys in the world because he doesn't get that at home.
Mm-hmm. It's reading this made me want to go back and read the Anthropocene Reviewed again, so mm-hmm. I've started rereading the Anthropocene Reviewed, because the Anthropocene Reviewed, like, split me open and I cried the whole book, mm-hmm. and I did the audio, which I will always recommend because it's John Green doing it, but I went and I own the physical copy. I listened to the audio, and I was like, I need to have the Kindle version so I can just pull it up at any given moment.
Yeah.
I might need it. Mm-hmm. And so I went back and bought the Kindle version so I could always have it just in case. Mm-hmm. And he quote, like, it's so funny having, like, read An Abundance of Catherines again recently, and I read Paper Towns again recently, and then reading this again. everything, like, he draws so much from his life experience into these books, even just little things, because, like, that Maurice Sendak quote he talks about in the Anthropocene Reviewed, and, like, he talks about how much he loves Indianapolis and, like, their move to Indianapolis when he and Sarah were younger. And so, like, of course this is set in Indianapolis. It's just, like, there's so many little things. I think there was more in here that I was like, oh, he talked about that in the Anthropocene Reviewed. Like, it's just neat to find, like, the Easter eggs, essentially.
Yeah.
Where he, like, kind of ties everything together.
I kind of got that feeling. Like, I don't even know that much about his backstory, but, like, when you're reading it, you have, like, you get that feeling of you have to know what you're talking about.
Like, you put a little bit of yourself in here.
Right. Like, this isn't fully, like, fiction.
Yeah.
Like, no, yeah. I think that's one of my favorite things about him is that, like, he leaves little pieces of himself in everything that he makes, and it's so incredible. Like, I just think I'll always be enamored by him. And he's talked recently about how he doesn't think he'll write fiction again. He's like, maybe we'll see. I'm not writing it off completely. But, like, right now he's, like, so strongly working in this, like, fight against TB. And so he wants to start writing, like, nonfiction works about, like, this type of stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll read anything you put pen to paper to. Like, I got it. Yeah. If you have one buyer, it's me. And if you have a million buyers, I'm one of them. Like, I'm in.
Right.
The line that you were talking about whenever you were saying, and even though I laughed with them, it felt like I was somewhere else, you know, whenever they're at Applebee's. The line after where she said, they laughed because something was funny, I laughed because they had. That one hurt.
Yep.
And then she, like, starts talking about, like, the parasite and, like, how it just so thoroughly consumes her mind. And, like, is the parasite really who you are? Because the parasite controls, like, what you need. Because it's when she's talking about the fish and bird analogies, like the parasite that can only, like, mutate in the belly of a bird, and so they go into the fish so that the bird will, they go into the fish and the fish is swimming along like normal, but then whenever the parasite's ready, the fish starts swimming towards the top like it's ready to die, so then the bird can eat the fish, and now the parasite's in the bird where it belongs, and the parasite gets to do what it wants. And she says, and the parasite that was authoring this story all along ends up exactly where it needs to be, in the belly of a bird. The parasite breeds there, and then baby parasites get crapped out into the water by birds, whereupon they meet with a fish, and the cycle begins anew. Incredible story. The way, like, parasites work and the way they alter, it's insane. Like, I've never put that much thought to it. But then I also have to remind myself that she starts telling Davis this story when this is after they kiss, right? Or no, this is before they kiss for the first time. But she's just, like, laying there with Davis, and they're, like, being cute and sweet. And then she starts talking about the parasite. And, like, normally I'd be like, oh my God, Hazel, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this right now? Why is this what you're choosing to do? Why are you telling him about the parasite? But he's like, oh. And he just comes up and, like, starts talking about, like, his own life experience. He starts talking about whenever his mom was in the hospital and, like, the experiences that he had and, like, what his life was like. And I'm like, I remember how this book ends. And, like, it's fair. They're 17. But I'm mad.
Yeah.
I'm so upset. Their brains complement each other so well. Your brains complement each other so well. Like,
But he also is, like, so understanding. And, like, as a person, like, he wants to meet Aza.
Yeah.
Halfway.
Yeah.
And think about, like, the fact that Aza felt comfortable enough to express, like, that whole little, like, excerpt about the parasite. Like, she hasn't even said stuff like that to Daisy. So the fact that she felt comfortable enough to do that with him, like, knowing that he wouldn't judge her.
Yeah. And the whole, like, mystery aspect of it, I feel like John Reed does that, like, in several of his books. The, like, kind of like side quest. The side quest mystery that we're, like, trying to figure out. It is so fun. And, I, like, couldn't exactly remember, like, how that ended, but I knew it had something to do with Pogue's Run. And I was like, when I read it, I was like, I still don't know that I quite gather, like, did the dad just run into the tunnels and just, like, from exposure to all of the sewage runoff, it killed him? Because he was just trying to live down there?
Either that or, like, starvation, or...
But they said, like, he was dead within a couple days, I think.
Oh, then maybe.
I wonder if he had just, like, ended it himself.
Or that.
Maybe? I don't know. Just because, like, oh, you messed up with your business a couple times, so might as well be dead. Because all that matters is the Tuatara that'll get all the money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
He'd rather be dead than spend any time in prison.
Mm-hmm.
One of the parts where, like, Daisy's duality really hit me is whenever they're talking about the money, and she, like, tells her about everything. And she starts talking about, like, trying to find Davis's dad again. Mm-hmm. And Daisy's like, that kid is not your problem. Like, we're not in the helping billionaire orphans business. And I'm like, okay, like, you lack any compassion.
Right.
Because I know that you were in it for the $100,000 and now you have it, but also there's still a 13-year-old.
Right.
Who's broken and devastated. Come on, Daisy. Mm-hmm. Let's buck up. Let's do something. But then, when she's like, oh my God, like, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be able to go to college. Like, this is crazy. And Aza's like, it's like, this isn't going to fully pay for your college. Like, this isn't everything. Mm-hmm. And she literally says, like, maybe that's not rich to you, but that's rich to me. Like, and then later, whenever she's talking about, like, you bought a car and you bought a laptop, like, you're just blowing this money. And she's like, you already had a car and you already had a laptop. Like, you think that you're poor, and, like, I'm sure they're not doing great. Like, she has a single mom, like, who's only a high school teacher. But, like, Daisy's like, I share a room with my 9-year-old sister, and I don't have a vehicle. Mm-hmm. And I have to work at freaking Chuck E. Cheese every single day. Yeah. Like, you don't get me either. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one thing that I was like, all of Daisy's, like, selfishness is so much more outward. Right. But Aza's selfishness was just, like, a little more inward. Like, you don't notice it as much. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, you were both being 17 and selfish. Like, got it. Like, it was both of you. But Daisy's is just so, like, in your face from the jump that I was like, I want to hit her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just want to hit her once.
Yeah.
Just one time. I feel like nobody's hit her before.
Yeah. Right.
But then, like, especially when they get in that fight in the car, I was like, oh, you both suck. Yeah. Oh, you're both just 17. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry. Like, I take it back. I'll hit both of you. Yeah. It's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
I did, like, I know it kind of blew up. Each of them kind of got, like, really into the argument. Mm-hmm. But I feel like they said things that needed to be said.
Yeah.
Like, things that kind of, like, festered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, got it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. On both sides, too. Because, like, each of them had things that they needed to say. Yeah. And, I mean, Aza's pretty brave for holding it in whenever she saw Daisy after she read all the fanfics. Dude. Because if it were me, it'd be on site.
Yeah.
It'd be on site. Mm-hmm. You write that stuff about me? Oh, no. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not even waiting until we're both in school. I'll be at the house immediately.
And even if I'm not physically beating you up, you know you're about to have a verbal confrontation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
No, period.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just, like, why would you, Daisy? Like, and I get it. It's, like, her outlet because it's her writing. But why did you have to post that publicly?
Yeah.
You could have, like, privately written that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought back to the fact that whenever she had that one conversation with Davis where Davis was like, oh, like, have you read any of Daisy's stuff? She was like, no, I haven't. And he was like, oh, yeah, like, it's actually really good. You should. Like, you're kind of in some of them. Like, he acknowledged that Ayala was Aza.
Mm-hmm.
He knew it, too.
Mm-hmm.
And the way she was talking to him about it after she had read them, and she's like,
and well... Oh, I kind of liked her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, very so nice of you.
Right, right.
How super so kind, but also...
What?
Mm-hmm.
That was an unlikable character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an unlikable character.
Her, and she took her character to the extreme.
She did.
Yeah.
It was bad. And she said, whenever she first started writing it in middle school, she was kind of based on Aza, but, the character's grown. And I'm like, oh, but you're still citing your sources.
Mm-hmm.
This, no.
You're still using recent events.
Yeah. Recent events.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot.
Yeah, that was... And then they got in the accident. And then how did Aza walk away without a single scratch? Which I know she was talking about Harold, but...
No, Aza's liver was lacerated.
I'm sorry, I meant Daisy.
You meant Daisy?
Yeah.
I don't know. It must have just been the way they hit, because it seemed like Aza's injury was, from her seatbelt, you know? It was... So it must have just been the way they hit that Daisy, didn't get, thrown as much.
Right.
That was another time that Daisy was irritating me, was, hang on. It's past this. But, she, gets out and she's like, oh my god, my car is totaled. And she's, trying to get in the trunk to find her dad's phone, and she's freaking out. And, and Daisy's like, we just got in a car accident, and, all you care about is your car? And I'm like, you're so selfish and so in your own head that you're not considering that, this was her dad's car. This was the thing that her dad left her. This, Harold was huge to her.
Yeah.
Harold was, her dad for her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're screaming at her for being selfish, and, you are equally as selfish. You guys are not... You guys are rarely considering each other's sides.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's pretty typical of 17-year-old relationships.
Yeah.
But, boy, stop shouting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Back up. I was so irritated.
Yeah.
The little meteor shower, whenever she's supposed to go over to Davies's and watch the meteor shower.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we can't see it, cloud coverage. And she was like, oh, my primary interest is not in the meteor shower. And he's like, perfect, I'll see you tonight.
Yeah.
And, they're, laying down talking about it, and, where she says, but it's still happening, right? There's still a meteor shower, we just can't see it. And then he starts talking about it and how it's supposed to be super beautiful and romantic, and she says, it is super beautiful and romantic, we just can't see it. And then when she comes home, obviously that's, the night they kiss, and the first time she starts freaking out and goes to the bathroom and, rinses her mouth out. This is before we got to hand sanitizer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously things happen, but then whenever she gets home and she checks his blog again, and, where is it? I highlighted so much I can't find anything. Oh, right here. She noted more than once that the meteor shower was happening beyond the overcast sky, even if we could not see it. Who cares if she can kiss? She can see through the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm.
Are you absolutely kidding?
Mm-hmm. So beautiful.
I can't. How are you 17?
Honestly.
And that's on having to grow up at a young age.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. He's so precious.
Mm-hmm. I am so sad that it wasn't really a happy ending. You're saying they could have been. It was they were made for each other, really? And so part of me was really sad that it was a very melancholy ending. But part of me was it was weird. I was satisfied with. I wasn't necessarily happy with the ending, but I was satisfied with the ending because
Same.
it was, though it was not
Open
the
to
way. Yeah, that was not the way that you'd want it to end. It was real. It was. Trying to find the words. It's very real that two very compatible people may not end up together, especially if you have a serious case of OCD and anxiety and stuff like that. And if your dad is, went missing and died, and you have to move somewhere else. So I just thought it was sad, but it was real. So I felt good about it.
The whole quote that he put in one of his blogs about we went out to the meadow, that whole concept of I don't know if you remember, Haley. I can read the whole thing. It says, there's an expression in classical music. It goes, we went out to the meadow. It's for those evenings that can only be described in that way. There were no walls. There were no music stands. There weren't even any instruments. There was no ceiling. There was no floor. We all went out to the meadow. It describes a feeling. Tom Waits. Mm-hmm. And it was so then he refers to saying, like, we went out to the meadow that night. Like, it was incredible. I'm so enamored by this concept. I've never heard this before. Mm-hmm. We went out to the meadow. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
My new favorite thing.
Yeah.
I'll probably make it my whole personality. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the amount of research that John Green does for these books.
I know.
Because, like, I know that he's just, like, a wealth of knowledge in general.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But, like, he just drops little, like, bombs throughout the book that I'm like, oh, that'll change my whole life. Oh, that'll change my whole life. Oh, I'm a new person at the end of reading this book.
That literally altered my brain chemistry.
Yep.
Literally.
Uh-huh.
Also, I feel like walking away from his books, I feel like a smarter person.
Always. And I'm like,
learned so many things.
I'm like, I don't feel any type of way about the fact that I just read a YA novel at the ripe old age of 24. No, I don't. I feel like I grew as a person.
Yeah.
When Daisy said, I mean, I love you and it's not your fault, but your anxiety does kind of invite disasters. I mean, Holmesy, you're exhausting.
That part frustrated me.
How absolutely dare you say that to another person?
Uh-huh.
Like,
like, your anxiety is affecting me so much. I'm sorry. I didn't know that I could turn it off.
It literally gives me flashbacks of if he had been with me. And when what's-his-face is breaking up with her, and he's like, your anxiety is just, like, a lot.
Yeah.
It makes you so hard to take care of. Like,
and she literally was like, I'm so sorry that I've affected you this way.
She's like, I can't help it. It's not what I need to do.
Right.
But it's also, like, nobody ever communicates with you whenever you have that.
I think that's what kills me is, like, because I kind of get what they're saying, because like, if you don't struggle with that and being around someone that's like constantly struggling, like it can be exhausting because you don't know how to help, you don't know what to do, like you don't know what it's like in their brain, and it like can be really overwhelming for the person it affects and the people that love them. And so like I get it, but there's such a way to go about it that you're not just being like, I love you, but you're exhausting. I love you, but is like the worst. Don't.
No.
I hate it.
That.
Yep.
I hate it.
Yep.
Like, I love you, but I just don't say anything.
How about I love you and...
Yes, always. And.
Yeah.
I love you, and your anxiety seems like it's been really bad lately.
Yeah.
And how can we help? Like, what can we do? Is there anything that could, like, I don't know. Just like compassion, maybe.
Yeah.
Goes so far.
Yeah.
Maybe her friend could check in on her and not just be her mom and her therapist.
Yeah.
Because I felt so bad for her mom, too, because, again, like, as a mom, I can't imagine.
Right.
I can't imagine being like, I don't know what's going on in my kid's head, and she's 17, so she doesn't want to talk to me about anything anyway. But, like, I'm so scared, and I just want her to be okay because she's my whole entire world.
Yeah.
But then also being 17 and being mentally ill and being like, I'm so tired of trying to explain to people how my brain works. But also, I'm 17 and I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm fine. Leave me alone.
Right.
What a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I like when she kind of stood up to her mom a little bit in the end, too, because she was like...
She's like, how about I tell you? Or something like that.
Yeah, well, and she was just like, you can't keep putting this over my head. Like, you're trying to check in and to make sure that I'm okay just because you don't want to lose me. She's like, you don't get to choose that. And also, it's okay. Like, I'll let you know. And you don't have to phrase it the way that you're phrasing it. And like, and I do understand where she's coming from, because sometimes I would read some things that her mom would ask her, and I'm like, why would you ask her that?
Yeah.
And, or why would you tell her that? Like, I already lost your dad and I can't lose you too. Why would you tell your 17-year-old daughter that?
Yeah.
Like, the pressure that puts on her
Right.
is awful.
Right.
It's awful. Oh my God, her mom going off on Davis when they're having, like, a perfectly lovely conversation.
Right.
And then she's like, I know money makes you think that you can own people, but you can't own my daughter like she's her own person. You can't just, like, buy her and do what you want with her. And then Davis just sobs because he's like, boy, I wish I had a mom that cared.
Yeah.
But as Aza, I would have been like, are you not a grown woman talking to a child?
Yeah.
Are you not a grown 40-year-old woman talking to a 17-year-old boy whose father is lit? Like, you know what's going on, and how dare you?
But also, in what capacity did he ever show that he was trying to buy her?
Yeah.
Her mom didn't even know about the money at this point.
No, exactly.
Mm-mm.
Like, he didn't buy her anything.
Heck no.
Yeah.
Like, they just hung out.
And they were friends when they were children. So,
Right.
like, what has he done to you
Mm-mm.
to make you think this way?
Mm-mm.
It's crazy.
I'm scrolling through all my notes, and right before the car accident, whenever they're screaming at each other, she says, don't get me wrong, Daisy made, like, lots of good points in her argument, too. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that, like, Aza knew so little about, like, her and her life and her family was crazy. Mm-hmm. But when Aza said, stop talking, Jesus Christ, you haven't shut up in 10 years.
Oh, my God.
I remember that.
I was like, okay, eat her up. Okay, get her then. Damn. And then she said, imagine eating nothing but mustard, being stuck with mustard all the time, being mustard. I was like, you hurted her again.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
why would she use that analogy? Even if Michael said it, why would you tell her to her face?
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys not know how to fight?
Yeah.
No, literally.
I know how to fight very well. You guys don't know how to fight. Some things you just keep in your brain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Like, oof.
And then she's immediately like, I shouldn't have said that. And I'm like,
No crap.
yeah, no, you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Big brain moment you just had, girly pop. So proud. The whole hospital stay
Oh my gosh.
broke me.
Yeah.
Just absolutely broke me. The way he wrote it, too, with, like, her warring with her own thoughts, and, like, her thoughts were in italics, and it would just be run-on sentences of, like, go get the hand sanitizer. No, it doesn't make sense. It's only going to hurt me. You have to go get the hand sanitizer. No, I don't. I control my thoughts. You're going to die. Yeah, I'm going to die. Like, I just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so, like, he writes in a way that even if you've never struggled with these forms of mental illness, it's like you get it.
Right.
It's like you can feel how that would feel, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When Daisy said we're gonna get tombstones together that say Holmesy and Daisy, they did everything together except the nasty.
Oh, that's fun.
I love them.
I like that they were able to have that kind of a fight and still
Yes.
get over it. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yes.
it like helped their friendship
Mm-hmm.
instead of hurting it.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
When she said my whole life I thought I was the star of an overly earnest romance movie, and it turns out I was in a buddy comedy all along. Like, buddy comedies are the best ones. It's so good. It's so good. This whole chapter, like their whole revelation, like talking whenever she gets out of the hospital, and they're like talking about their friendship, and she says that like Aza compares herself to the White River. She says like, I think maybe I'm like the White River, non-navigable. And Daisy said, but that's not the point of the story, Holmesy. The point of the story is they built the city anyway, you know? You work with what you have. They had this shit river, and they managed to build an okay city around it. Not a great city, maybe, but not bad. You're not the river. You're the city. So I'm not bad? Correct. You're a solid B+. If you can build a B+ city with C- geography, that's pretty great. They're so cute.
Yeah.
I just want to hold them both.
Daisy knows all the right and wrong things to
She
say.
does.
Yeah.
She has it all. And then the freaking turtle story.
Yeah.
Remind me of the turtle story.
I would absolutely love to. I've read it so many times the
Thank
last
you,
couple days
'cause
to
I forget.
everyone that will listen.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
So Aza is talking about how she's like, because Daisy's like, I want to understand what's going on with you. Like, is it that you hate yourself? And she's explaining, like, I feel like there's no self to hate. So I feel like Russian nesting dolls, except you're normally supposed to get to the small one that's solid, but mine's not solid. And, like, I feel like I'm not a person, right? And so Daisy says, okay, so there's this scientist. And he's giving a lecture to a huge audience about the history of the Earth, and he explains that the Earth was formed billions of years ago from a cloud of cosmic dust, and then for a while the Earth was very hot, but then it cooled enough for oceans to form, and single-cell life emerged in the oceans, and then over billions of years, life got more abundant and complex, until 250,000 or so years ago, humans evolved, and we started using more advanced tools, and then eventually built spaceships and everything. So he gives this whole presentation about the history of Earth and life on it, and then at the end, he asks if there are any questions. An old woman in the back raises her hand and says, "That's all fine and good, Mr. Scientist, but the truth is, the Earth is a flat plane resting on the back of a giant turtle." The scientist decides to have a bit of fun with the woman and responds, "Well, but if that's so, then what's the giant turtle standing upon?" And the woman says, "It's standing upon the shell of another giant turtle." And now the scientist is frustrated and he says, "Well, then what is that turtle standing upon?" And the old woman says, "Sir, you don't understand. It's turtles all the way down." I laughed. "It's turtles all the way down." "It's turtles all the way fucking down, Holmesy. You're trying to find the turtle at the bottom of the pile, but that's not how it works. Because it's turtles all the way down," I said again, feeling something akin to a spiritual revelation.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I forgot about that.
I didn't even realize on the front it's like a spiral.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I made that connection, like, after I read that, I was like, it's a spiral.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go on existing in the same way as before you read a book when books just drop crap like that? I've already planned out my next John Green tattoo.
Yeah?
It's a quote from the Anthropocene Reviewed, but I'm going to work Turtles all the way down in to it. I'll explain it to you later. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. But I just watched an interview with Cree, who plays Daisy, and they were asking, like, what do you think Turtles all the way down means? And she kind of explains the story and all this. And I can't remember exactly what she said. I would butcher it, or I would try to tell you. God, the way she explained it was so incredible, and now I shouldn't have even brought it up because I don't remember what she said. And I can't quote it exactly.
Now you just have to go find it and watch it.
Yeah, literally. It's on TikTok. She was doing a podcast, Zach on something. What's the name of the podcast? We're going to find the podcast so you can at least look it up. No. The Zach Sang Show. That's what it is. The Zach Sang Show. She did a podcast on the Zach Sang Show, and he asks her what Turtles all the way down means to her. Look it up. It's really good. I really liked it. Oh, my other, the other thing from the Anthropocene Reviewed, he reviews Wintry Mix, which is a, like, type of snow-ish that is just, like, ice pellets, frozen rain, and wind. It's, like, not actually snow. And he, like, references it in here, and he also reviewed it in the Anthropocene Reviewed. That was my other callback. The whole ending of this book was incredible. I like that Michael got his really cool artwork in that show. And also the whole idea of, like, going in these underground tunnels to this art show. That's so cool. That's sick. I'd go. Like, that's so neat to me. But then they were like, oh, this is where Davis's dad was. I can't imagine being burdened with the knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, well, now I have to tell him. Or I don't, and, like, he never knows. I think all the right choices were made, you know? Like, I think, obviously, you needed to tell him, and then he needed to tell Noah, and then they needed to talk about it, and, like, whatever choice they made was their choice.
Right.
But I just can't imagine being, like, burdened with the knowledge.
Yeah.
That's insane.
The way they walked in, too, and was like, oh, it smells, like, really bad in here.
Yeah.
Like, not just sewage bad.
Yeah.
I remember reading
clicked,
that.
she was like, oh.
Yeah, I remember. I was like as soon as I read that, I was like, oh
like, you have to
my
get
gosh.
out of it.
Yeah.
It's time to exit.
You're in a crime scene.
Like, truly.
Literally.
That's awful. Their last, like, little conversation when he comes over and he gives her the artwork, he gives her the photo, the painting.
Yeah.
And she didn't even know
Right.
That it was the painting at the time. And they just, like, laid out there. I highlighted essentially the entire, like, ending of this book. It was just, like, I don't know. It was just so good. Mm-hmm. And, like, they lay there and they were talking, and, I don't know, I would read the whole thing. Because it's all so good. Yeah, okay, I will. You guys convinced me. It was, like, after he said that he was moving, like, him and Noah were going to move, because he got Noah into a good school, and, like, already the sacrifices he's making for his brother, like, he's just a good person. Like, these are just good people. And, she said, I thought lying there that I might love him for the rest of my life. We did love each other. Maybe we never said it, and maybe love was never something we were in, but it was something I felt. I loved him, and I thought maybe I'll never see him again, and I'll be stuck missing him, and isn't that so terrible? But it turns out not to be terrible, because I know the secret that the me lying beneath that sky could not imagine. I know that girl would go on, and she would grow up, have children, and love them, just that despite loving them, she would get too sick to care for them, be hospitalized, get better, and then get sick again. I know a shrink would say, write it down, how you got here. So you would, and in writing it down, you realize love is not a tragedy.
Not a tragedy?
Why can't I get through this word ever?
It's ruined now.
It's ruined for me. Love is not a tragedy or a failure, but a gift. You remember your first love because they show you, prove to you that you can love and be loved, that nothing in this world is deserved except for love, that love is both how you become a person and why. But underneath those skies, your hand, no my hand, no our hand in his, you don't know yet. You don't know that the spiral painting is in that box on your dining room table with a post-it note stuck to the back of the frame, stole this from a lizard for you. You can't know yet how that painting will follow you from one apartment to another, and then eventually to a house, or how decades later you'll be so proud that Daisy continues to be your best friend, that growing into different lives only makes you more fiercely loyal to each other. You don't know that you'd go to college, find a job, make a life, see it unbuilt and rebuilt. I, a singular proper noun, would go on, if always in a conditional tense. But you don't know any of that yet. We squeeze his hand, he squeezes back. You stare up at the same sky together, and after a while he says, I have to go, and you say goodbye, and he says, goodbye, Asa, and no one ever says goodbye unless they want to see you again.
Now I remember why I cried.
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah, I remember now.
I read this, I was putting off finishing it, and I was like, you know what, I have to drive myself to work again on Monday. I'll finish the audiobook in the car. Bad call. Bad call. I am pulling into work. And I was like, I need to put on a song. I need music to make this better. Like, I can't be feeling these feelings. So I open Spotify and I hit shuffle. And the first song that starts playing is A Milli by Lil Wayne.
Oh my God.
And my first instinct was like, this is not the vibe. And then I was like, but maybe it will fix the vibe. So I just turned the volume up and I was like, okay, you got it. You got it. And then I had to come home and, like, read the book so I could go through and make the highlights. And then I just cried again.
Yeah.
I love that book.
It's such a good book.
It's so good.
Criers.
I know. I guess we're just babies.
I know. Just children, maybe.
Just children.
What are we going to do?
Haley's video after every book.
Literally. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
I'm Greg. Surprise. Literally, I think, like, every book that I've read, maybe not in the history of ever, because there were, like, I read a bunch of books in high school that I didn't really cry about, but, like, recently as an adult, I've cried at almost every single book.
I think I cried in the last thing he told me.
Well, I cried at
that one.
Like,
did I cry at that? Yes.
At the end, when the Could Have Been boys still loved her?
Yep, I did cry. And I was very proud of myself because I was like, oh, I didn't cry this whole book. And then I read that and then
I didn't cry in that one. It's If He Had Told.
Yeah, you read
Or If He Had Been With Me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I keep getting the names mixed up.
The titles are too similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that, totally fair. Guys, what if John Green watches this?
Oh, hey, John.
I really hope he did.
Hey, buddy.
We all really love you.
Yeah.
I think, actually, John Green, you helped me get through high school.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
I absolutely would not have survived middle school without John Green, I think.
What was y'all's first John Green book?
I think it was The Fault in Our Stars.
Mine was Looking for Alaska.
I read that after The Fault in Our Stars.
Paper Towns?
I was obsessed with Looking for Alaska.
Yeah.
What year did Paper Towns come out? Paper Towns by John Green. Yeah, I think it was Paper Towns.
Mm.
And then I read The Fault in Our Stars.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I read The Fault in Our Stars, I was like, wait, I loved him. And, like, went back and read a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he does it. Like, I don't know, like, if he maybe, like, puts crack cocaine.
Yeah.
In the novel.
Infuses it in the papers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, it would make sense if I read a physical copy that there's crack cocaine, because, like, I have a signed copy, too.
Yeah.
And I know that he, like, physically signed, like, these sheets and then, like, sent them to the warehouse. So, like, he could have, like...
Right. You never know.
In. But I read the Kindle version and still am having problems.
The way that John Green has held this book...
Yeah.
I remember seeing it because I didn't even know that it was a signed copy because Jordan had bought it, and I saw it and I was like, oh, and I was like, it's probably just like a digital signature or whatever, and I opened it and it's literally a marker, and I was like, John Green just...
Have you seen the videos on Vlogbrothers of him, like, signing the pages?
No.
So he had, like, he signed 200,000 of them, and he had stacks of the papers, and he would go through and sign them, and there are, like, a couple that he did, like, a bunch of different things on. Like, on one of them, he signed, like, John Green all the way down. So it was, like, John Green all the way down.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple that he did, like, he, like, wrote quotes in. And I think mine says DFTBA above it, like, above Green, or like, above his name where he wrote it. But he, like, did a whole, like, little Vlogbrothers video about, like, signing all of them.
That
and
is
I was
so
like,
cute.
like, they're just... I feel like John and Hank Green are the most, like, tangible celebrities. Like, they just seem like, oh, like, you're a real person just living a real life.
Yeah.
Right.
You just happen to, like, do a thing and do it really well.
Right.
So it's, like, super profitable and tons of people like it and know who you are because of it.
But it doesn't taint who they are at their core.
No.
Right.
It's incredible. John Green, if you watch this, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for writing. Thanks for existing and creating content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell your brother thanks for teaching us science.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Every time I walked into biology and I saw Hank Green, I was like, it's going to be a good
It's
class.
going to be a good day.
And I actually paid attention. I wasn't
Dude.
just like snoozing. I paid attention.
No, literally.
I still pay attention when Hank Green pops up on my stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I'm like, what has he got to tell me now?
I have notifications
gonna
on for John and Hank on Twitter. And, like, literally throughout this video, I just see turtles all across my screen since Hank changed his name. And I'm like, Turtle Man has something to say. Pay attention. Like, I'm going to pay attention.
Yeah.
They're incredible. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you read the book. It's really good. If not, that's okay. At least watch the movie on Max. Comes out May 2nd. You're watching this May 3rd or after. So what's your excuse?
Yeah.
Next week,
We'll do Home is Where the Bodies Are.
Home is Where the Bodies Are.
Yep.
Mystery thriller vibes. We'll remind you. I'll post it on Instagram. I remind you that we're doing it.
Yep.
So that you can read along and catch up by next week.
Yes.
Correct.
But for now, like John says, the link is in the doobly-doo. And that's where all our stuff is.
Yeah.
So check it out, follow along,
Mm-hmm.
stay hanging out with us. We're pretty much a really good time.
We are. Yeah.
Alright guys, we love you. Happy Friday. Happy whatever day you're watching this. And we'll see you next time.